Hello. How's everyone doing over there? I hope everyone's doing
I wonder
good.
how Bob feels about that. That he knows
Um,
personally such a dangerous terrorist. You know.
just watching one of my favorite streamers,
I got Viet food.
Hassan Piker. Right? They don't like me
Let's bring
speaking
in
about
Michael
him,
Knowles, host of the podcast,
but
the Michael Knowles podcast.
Michael
So I know
Knowles.
you're at the big turning point event last night. We'll get to that, but just your thoughts about because I'm sure
this
you
is
were watching
bizarre,
the
right?
shows we watched for you. So your
Man, my
thoughts about what
camera. I
you
need
just
a new
heard.
camera, everyone.
Well,
Make sure you share, like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you hit the follow button. Whatever channel you're on, make sure you hit the follow button on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, X, Instagram, and Substack. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you for joining me on this channel. My name is Celso Garcia, and I'm live from my living room in New York City, um, and from the home of Donald Trump. Right? He's from Queens. I'm from Queens. I mean, and so welcome to the program. Welcome to the channel. Thank you for joining me. I'm live on all the channels that you want me to be on, right? It's a crazy world where um, anyone that's on the left now is a threat or is dangerous to America. And anyone that is for peace and for love is considered a enemy, considered a villain, right? Anyone that's a hippie or anyone that believes in anyone that says that a war is bad is now considered very unpopular, right? And we'll talk about Trump that has a very low popularity rating. He has the lowest popularity rating of any president has ever had in years, right? Donald Trump's popularity rating is a lot lower than most people, most presidents, every president in the time since we started, right? The popularity is very low, right? His popularity is so low that you'd be surprised how low it is, right? Realistically, any other president in the past, he's even less popular than Richard Nixon. He's even less popular than Richard Nixon is, right? Um, he's less popular than Richard Nixon is, unfortunately. And that's hard, right? Because Richard Nixon was accused of so many crimes. He ended up resigning because he was going to be impeached. He was under so many investigations, and as you know, Donald Trump was also impeached, right? Donald Trump was impeached several times, right? And sometimes you got to wear who you are, what you are on your chest, right? Be proud of who you are and not be hesitant, right? A lot of times I used to be hesitant to not wear my identity, hide who I was, to be able to try to please the naysayers, try to please the employers. I wanted to stay low key because the more low key I appeared, the more low key I appeared, that meant that I had higher chances of getting employment, higher chances of appearing normal, right? Right. So that's my issue, right? That you have to be yourself. You can't cave to those forces that are negative, right? You can't cave to those forces that are negative. Definitely got to buy a new camera, right? Definitely got to buy a new camera, right? Definitely got to buy a new camera. The way it's appearing is not appearing the best. But what's important is my words and your words, what you have to say, right? I definitely want to hear from the people in the room as to what you think about one second. 1 second. So, okay, so just trying to link up certain things on the profile. I want you all to hear this. This is what Donald Trump posted on X today, right? Just a few minutes ago, right? Just a few minutes ago. He said, no more in this Mr. Nice Guy. This was on Iran can get their act together. They don't know how to sign a non nuclear deal. They better get smart soon. President DJT. No more Mr. Nice Guy. And it shows, I guess this was better than the last one, right? The last one when he said he was going to annihilate and destroy a whole civilization. So now he just puts a picture of him holding, and with sunglasses, him holding a weapon as if he was a soldier or has ever been a soldier. I mean, I haven't been a soldier, but he definitely hasn't been a soldier. And at this age, he's like trying to show that he's the tough guy and that he's not scared of Iran. But I don't know if this is the right method, right? I don't know if this is the right method to get people to buy into the war and see the war as something good, right? Because that's the problem right now. That most Americans don't see this war as a good thing. As much as he tries to say that, oh, it's great, it's great, it's great for America, it's great for the world, right? It's great for the world. But I don't agree necessarily with the whole analogy that this is good for the America, that this is good for the world. Um, I don't think it's the best thing for our society to go to war and to show as if it's not a big deal to wipe out a whole civilization or to threaten with the bombardment of whole civilizations. To me, this is not a position that we should be taking as a country or as a sovereign a country that allows other countries to be sovereign and live their life however they want to live their life, right? You're going to have to try to do a lot of convincing to try to get me to agree that this war is justified. We still are waiting for proof, and Congress is still not holding the president accountable. So we could all know why we're in Iran, why we're bombarding them, even though right now there's a ceasefire. Um, this is like a long war that's lasting way more than what the president said. Right? His timeline was 4 to 6 weeks, and now we're already way past that. We're going to 60 days, right? And people still believe him. They still believe what he's saying, and he keeps posting with no respect for everyday Americans or what people stand for, or even the polls are showing that his poll numbers are the lowest of any president in U.S. history, right? It's the lowest it's been for any U.S. president ever. And the war is very unpopular too, especially considering the fact that the oil prices have skyrocketed and people's gas prices have skyrocketed, electricity costs. I'm going to keep saying it over and over. People are not happy with the way the economy is um, being led, right? A lot of the people that were sucked in by Trump, the reason why they chose to vote for him was because he said, hey, I'm going to lower the gas prices. I'm going to lower the grocery prices. I'm going to make your life better. And the first thing he did was give tax cuts to the rich, right? And for a worker, right? For a worker that has been replaced with I was speaking to a friend that moved out of New York, moved to another state, and he said he had a really hard time um, trying to find another job, right? He really had a hard time finding another job, and he finally was able to secure a job after several years of being unemployed, right? He tried his hardest. And I'm talking about a person that has a really good resume, that has a lot of connections, and he had a hard time, right? Um, Especially finding work in his field, right? He worked in customer service, which is an area where I know a lot of companies have cut back on, right? I remember calling a utility company and I kept getting bounced around from one machine to another machine, right? It was an automated answering service, right? So I needed help right away, but then they said you couldn't speak to a live person unless it was an emergency, right? So the only way I could get a live person was by going around in circles and answering a whole bunch of questions. So you talk to this robot of artificial intelligence, and supposedly it was supposed to figure out what was wrong and make recommendations and help me solve the problem. that I was having with the utility. But it ended up sending me out on a loop for a long time, being bounced around from chatbot to chatbot. Finally, after a very long time, I was able to get somebody live, but wasn't the same, right? I had gotten frustrated, upset, and this is the things that we're doing, right? When we're replacing workers with artificial intelligence, and it's because we roll back so much of the rules and regulations, right? They did a moratorium saying that no state was allowed to regulate AI, right? This was a big moratorium on artificial, like, of states regulating artificial intelligence, right? This was done by Donald Trump. And on top of that, the people that say, "Oh, he's for workers," you have to understand that he gutted the federal government. He gutted um, uh, the civil service positions, right? A president that is for the workers would not be gutting workers' rights or workers' ability to organize, right? Not a good thing, right? Hey, so it's just a reality that civil servants are the lifeblood of the federal government, right? Because they can control what government agencies do, and it could slow down the process. So when they do try to gut any government agencies or do things that are against the people, these uh, civil servants are the ones that follow the laws, follow the rules, and are not supposed to be political, right? But that leads to my segue about the economy. And today, Jerome Powell did two things. One, Jerome Powell is the chairman of the Federal Reserve Board, right? The chairman of the Federal Reserve Board is an independent agency. They do not work for the government, they're the central bank. And the reason why it was separated was so it would not be part of the political process, right? That's the whole point. Why they made it this way was because during the Great Depression, there was no central bank. Each bank could do whatever they want with their money without any regulation, without anyone telling them how to do things, how to set the loan amount. And it was a decentralized system. A decentralized banking system. However, that caused severe problems in the way that businesses operated, the way the federal government operated. It was very impossible and very hard for the government to set uniform rules. In other words, you go to different states, and different states will have different banking rules, right? So imagine if you're a business person and you're operating a business that goes through all 50 states. You will have to face drastically different rules, terms of your loans. There would not be no baseline, right? So now there is a baseline, and the chairman of the Federal Reserve is an important position, and it's supposed to be an independent from the president, right? Even though Donald Trump has been threatening Jerome Powell over and over saying that he's going to fire him. The Federal Reserve chairman cannot be fired by the president, right? They're independent. They work for the government, but they don't work directly for the president himself, right? So when you have a president that's kind of bonkers or, bananas, I don't know what you want to call it, then what do you do in that instance, right? So you have to have some type of checks and balances, right? If not, then the president could do as he pleases. So today, Jerome Powell announced that he's staying on until Congress picks a new chairman, right? I mean, Congress doesn't pick the chairman, but the chairman of the Federal Reserve is the president nominates him, and then he's confirmed by the Senate. So until that process is complete, Jerome Powell will stay on, even though Donald Trump said he's going to fire him. He said he's going to stay on because there's too many legal problems, and he's not stepping down.
Changed. We see the current stance of monetary policy as appropriate to promote progress toward our maximum employment and 2% inflation goals. Developments in the Middle East are contributing to a high level of uncertainty about the economic outlook, and we will remain attentive to risks to both sides of our dual mandate. Recent indicators suggest that economic activity has been expanding at a solid pace. Consumer spending has been resilient, and business fixed investment has continued to expand at a brisk pace. In contrast, activity in the housing sector has remained weak. In the labor market, the unemployment rate was 4.3% in March and has changed little in recent months. A good part of the slowing in the pace of the job growth over the past year reflects a decline in the growth of the labor force due to lower immigration and labor force participation, though labor demand has clearly softened as well. Other indicators, including job openings, layoffs, hiring, and nominal wage growth, generally show little change in recent months. Inflation has moved up recently and is elevated relative to our 2% longer run goal. Estimates based on the Consumer Price Index and other data indicate that total PCE prices rose 3.5% over the 12 months ending in March, boosted by the significant rise in global oil prices that has resulted from the conflict in the Middle East. This is my last press conference as chair, and I will close with a few thoughts. First, I want to congratulate Kevin Warsh on his advancement out of the Senate Banking Committee this morning. This is an important step forward, and I wish him well as that process continues.
Well, Walsh has a
For the Fed rate call with Steve Leisman.
the Federal Reserve.
Leo wears a bucket hat to hide his
Well,
thinning hair.
He's basically, President Trump nominated somebody, but that person is not going to take office until he's confirmed. He made it out of the Senate committee, right? But he still has to make it out of he has to make it out of committee. He made it out of committee. So now they have to put it on the calendar to determine when would they vote on confirming him. So he's going to hold the seat. He was supposed to leave by May 1st, but it doesn't seem like unless they confirm him immediately, that's what Trump wants. Trump wants Powell to be out as soon as possible. And so Trump is not going to fire him as he claimed, because if he fires him, then it's a legal thing that's going to happen, right? He's going to trigger some lawsuits, and he doesn't want that happening, right? So let's keep looking at the economic data. Supposedly, we're on good economic footing, but do people feel like we're on good economic footing right now? Or do you feel like things are moving in a disastrous pace?
Job gains remained low on average, and the
Let's
unemployment
listen
rate
to
little changed.
Leo wears a bucket hat to hide his thinning hair. Not
So the Fed decided to keep interest rates the same. There was disagreement as to how long they would do it, but they did say that that depends on the Iran war, how long we last in war, and it seems that Trump is not willing to back down, right?
As a result of it not happening, and all of the rumblings you have in some Fed officials that wanted to go more to neutral and say, you know what, the next move could be a hike, or it could be a cut, or it could be staying the same. There's at least 3 of them who felt strongly enough about changing the statement and going to a neutral bias in their language that they decided to dissent today. Guys, back to you.
So how do you feel about the economy being
All right, folks,
good?
heading into 2026, all eyes on the Federal Reserve, which came to the rescue this year. I mean, despite a whole lot of internal opposition. But right now, few expect the Fed to cut. Certainly in January, the betting market's at just 87% that rates will remain unchanged. But my next guest is modeling for 4 cuts next year, 100 basis points. And by the way,
So these were the predictions that they had, that there was going to be 4 cuts.
Thank you so much,
and
Chair
there was
Powell.
no
Selena
cuts.
Wayne with ABC News. Are you confident
And this is some of the press conference that they asked Powell,
that
right?
Kevin Warsh will stand up to political pressure from President Trump?
So he testified very strongly to that effect in his hearing, and I'll take him at his word.
And when it comes to gas, right now it's over $4 a gallon. Inflation just hit a 2-year high. Should Americans expect to be paying higher gas prices for the rest of this year? And in your view,
Leo wears a bucket hat to hide
For the
his
rest of the
thinning
year,
hair.
right?
Not because he's good at fishing, but since
So they're expecting that it's going to be a long-term effect, that interest rates are going to stay flat, but that Americans are going to suffer, right? Americans are going to suffer unprecedented inflation. We're already seeing it with the Strait of Hormuz being closed. We see the inflation shooting up, right? unfortunately, we see the inflation shooting up. And um, all right, so let's see. Okay. Okay. So his chair will end on January 15, right? I mean, May 15. So he said he's going to stay on till May 15, and it's going to be a new person that says that he's going to oppose Trump. But he seems to be a Trump loyalist and is willing to do whatever Trump wants, right? The only reason why the economy has not collapsed or finished to collapse is because the Federal Reserve has been manipulating prices, right? Hey, listen to this.
Governor for a period of time to be determined. I plan to keep a low profile as a governor. There's only ever one chair of the Federal Reserve Board. When interest of the institution and the people we serve. After my term as chair ends on May 15, I will continue to serve as a governor for a period of time to be determined. I plan to keep a low profile as a governor. There's only ever one chair of the Federal Reserve Board. When Kevin Warsh is confirmed and sworn in, he will be that chair. Once sworn in as board chair, his new colleagues will elect him to chair the FOMC as well. As I regularly point out from this podium, our success in delivering our goals matters for all Americans. I'm confident that the Fed will continue to do its work with objectivity, integrity, and a deep commitment to serve the American people. Interest of the institution and the people we serve. After my term as chair ends on May 15, I will continue to serve as a governor for a
So
period of
Jerome
time
Powell is going to
to be
stay on
determined. I plan to keep
the
a low
Federal
profile
Reserve.
as a governor.
He
There's
served.
only ever one chair.
He served under Biden. He served under the first Trump, and then he served under this Trump. But he got soured because Trump thought that he could bully, right? That he could bully Jerome Powell into doing things the way he wanted them done, and Jerome Powell wasn't having it, right? Jerome Powell was like, "Nope, you're not gonna bully me. You're not gonna tell me what to do." Right? He said, "You're not gonna bully me and tell me what to do, how to do it. I'm gonna keep my independence." And that's when we see the oil prices shooting up, right? We definitely see that. We feel it in our everyday lives. We see the So they've been hitting home runs, right? So now they're going after former FBI Director James Comey. And this kind of we're not surprised, right? They were going to do this.
It's, I think of it as a mob term. I don't know. People think of it as something having to do with disappearing, but the mob uses that term to say when they want to kill somebody, they say 86, the son of a gun. I'm trying to keep the language nice and clear. They don't use that term, son of a gun. They use another term. But that's a mob term for kill him. Yeah.
But do you really think your life was in danger?
Probably. I don't know. You know, based on what I'm seeing out there, yeah, the people like Comey have created tremendous danger, I think, for politicians and others. Nobody knows anything about crime. They know 86. You know what 86? It's a mob term for kill 'em. You know, you ever see the movies?
So now Comey has allegedly connections to the mob. I mean, is this what the president's trying to say? Is this what the president's trying to say?
For the United States, but it really.
So the U.S. Supreme Court today issued a decision that will weaken the Voting Rights Act, right? That means that gerrymandering, they made it harder try to make it harder for Republican states to avoid drawing maps that are favoring one race or the other, right? So that means that Democrats are pretty much cannot draw maps based on race, right? So like the Voting Rights Act. So they pretty much gutted the Voting Rights Act. Even though they claimed that they didn't vote the Voting Rights Act, they did gut the Voting Rights Act by making it harder to draw lines and to draw lines, political lines, in favor of Republicans, right? Because we know that a lot of the minority neighborhoods or Black neighborhoods or Hispanic neighborhoods, most of them vote Democratic, right? So now they're saying, the Supreme Court is saying, you could redraw these maps without taking into consideration what race people are, right? So it's kind of diluting the power of, Black neighborhoods and Hispanic neighborhoods to have more representation because of the fact that they've been misrepresented for so many years. And so this is AOC's response, what they should do. AOC with a new haircut, right? Let's see what she has to say.
Them to just hide that intent instead of actually address and prevent and protect Americans' voting rights who are at risk, and especially communities, I think, in the South of the United States, but it really affects every American across.
Should New York respond in kind by doing its own redistricting once if the amendment passes?
I have long felt that we all have to play by the same set of rules, and the Republican caucus has made it very clear that they want and are setting rules of partisan gerrymandering. The Democratic caucus has tried to pass nonpartisan gerrymandering for 10 years. Republicans have rejected it. And so we have to all abide by the same rules. And so if Republicans are going to redraw North Carolina, if they're going to redraw Texas, if they're going to redraw and gerrymander every one of their states, then unfortunately, we have to provide balance to that until we get to the day where we can all finally agree to put this behind us and pass nonpartisan gerrymandering federally.
In other words, we got to punch back, right? We got to punch back, and we can't just sit back and accept however Republicans want to draw the maps, but Democrats should punch back as hard as they can and not allow them to draw the maps however they want them to draw them, right? So I showed you this yesterday. This was amazing. Amazingly bad, right? The trumpets blaring. Trump is in his penguin outfit. Oh no, forget it. Can't make no jokes. Melania is in her, what is it, a bowl? What is it supposed to be? I don't know. But she's in her dress. And trying to look like a nice couple. Doesn't matter what Jimmy Kimmel says. Doesn't matter. Jimmy Kimmel says you're like 40 years apart from each other. So what? Jimmy Kimmel says Trump might not be around forever. I mean, no one is around forever. No human being is around forever. We got to accept the reality that we're all born in flesh, right? We got to accept that reality. So everyone, double tap the screen, like the live, share the live. Your input is welcome. Your input is welcomed. Double tap on the screen, right? Double tap on the screen. And, you know, I enjoy your company every day. Thank you for joining me, right? And so now they're hating on Hassan. I'm just doing random topics. Screw it. Let it flow. Let it flow. Right? So thinking so deep. Exactly. So, good strategy. What do you think? Good strategy from Hassan Piker to make himself look like a businessman, even though we all know he's not a businessman. And then this is what Trump said. So they talk about Powell. They're saying that Jerome Powell is disconnected from reality. He's not a good chairman, but he's been chairman of the Federal Reserve for a while, right? He's the only reason why the economy has not collapsed, right? America's chief economist. Don't rub it in. Don't remind me about how life is. Come on. You're going to get us depressed. Don't remind us. Right? While these rich CEOs are living the best life, right? We're here struggling a little bit, nonetheless struggling.
Don't you ever feel sorry for Jay Powell at all?
No, I don't feel sorry for Jerome Powell. He's worth over $200 million. Who I feel sorry for is the Americans who can't get a mortgage because interest rates are at 20-year highs. I feel sorry for the fact that they can't start a family, they can't grow a family, they can't buy a home. I feel sad for the single mom in East Baltimore or in East Cincinnati.
This doesn't apply to boomers, right? That already established themselves, that see the world differently, right? Trump is a boomer. And the only people that are sticking by him are the baby boomers. This is the last stronghold of Donald Trump. That's what's giving him that 28% approval rating. All the older people, all the boomers, and the ones that have huge bank accounts, have a lot of money, don't have that many more years to life, but do have a lot of money put away and saved. And so then there's the people that are boomers that are against him. But may not be many, right? So we saw a little bit of the oil prices, what they were, right? We saw a little bit of what the oil prices were and are. How's my audio, by the way, everyone? How's my audio? Can you hear me well? Am I projecting my voice? Am I speaking up the way you want me to speak up? Or should I speak up the way Trump wants me to speak up? What do you think about my voice? Is it sexy enough for you? No? Okay, thank you. Good. That's a good thing, right? But I'm going to speak the way I have to speak up, right? I'm not going to be belligerent, but share and like, right? Share and like. So Hakeem Jeffries tweets back at Donald Trump with a weak clap back, right? You saw Hakeem Jeffries clap back, right? How's the volume? It's good? Thank you. Actually, Iran, I know people don't care. That's just the reality of life. Actually, Iran did sign a non-nuclear deal in 2015 under the leadership of President Obama. You blew it up, then plunged America into another reckless and costly war of choice in the Middle East. I mean, is this the biggest clapback you can make against the president? Is this the deepest clapback? Right? Is that the deepest clapback? As the leader of the House, this is the hardest you could go against the president, right? Is this the hardest you could go? Bizarre, right? Hakeem Jeffries is acting weak. Everyone hit the like button, hit the share button. I'm not getting no likes. I'm not getting no shares. Hit those buttons, hit the share. It helps the algorithm. So, I can keep improving and keep bringing you this information that's relevant possibly to your life. Thank you so much. Right? So, let's see. So that was Hakeem Jeffries' clapback. Weak. Is it a weak clapback? Yeah, it is. Like, is that the best you could do? That's my response. Right? That's my response. So these are the people that say that Hassan Piker should be removed off the air. They introduced today a new bill, right? Thank you for the like. Let's see who gave me the like. Janet Perez, thank you for hitting the like. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. And so let's see. Mike Lawler, you win the prize. $1 million from pro-Israel PACs. Republican representative, New York 17, and you introduce a bill in Congress against Hassan Piker to condemn him, right? Right? So, great job. And then the next one is Josh Gottheimer, Representative, Democrat from New Jersey 5. You received $2,062,601 from AIPAC, from the pro-Israel lobby. So that's why you're condemning Hassan Piker. That's why you want the law or a resolution passed by Congress to force them to pressure social media companies to take him off the air. All right. So those are the two co-sponsors of the bill. It's a bipartisan bill. And then,
Curtis, what do you make of Jonathan Ross, the ice?
so today also, this is something that's not really being reported, but the ICE officer that unalive Renee Good has been returned back into service. Now he's roaming the streets.
Curtis, what do you make of Jonathan Ross?
According to the investigation, he was found as not doing anything bad, and he's back in service.
The ICE agent who killed Renee Nicole Good being back on duty.
I mean, it's really, really heartbreaking that we can't get accountability and justice for the murder of Renee Good. I do hope that something shifts and that we are able to get accountability for them.
Thank you, Curtis. Curtis, what do you make of Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who killed Renee Nicole Good being back on duty?
I mean, it's really, really heartbreaking.
So they
that we
put
can't
him
get accountability,
back in
and
service, right? They put him back in service as if he didn't do anything wrong, as if, she's not going to be able to bring her life back, right? She can't get her life back because once you're unalive, right? It's not something you could do that easily, right? It's not something you could just bring the person back from where they came from, right? That's not how it works, people. That's not how it works. You can't bring people back from the dead. Right? So So this is the problem, right? The leadership. This is the leadership we have in the Democratic Party, right? A candidate is leading by 40 points. And since they don't like the candidate, they haven't even called them. It's like, Zoran, right? It's like Zoran, right? Let's listen to this video. Let's listen to this video on Jon Stewart's show, which I should subscribe, right? Plattner, interviewing Plattner, which has gotten in trouble.
And that whole crew, who Martin Heinrich in New Mexico, who like they.
The Democratic establishment has certainly put their Kalshi money and their Polymarket money on Janet Mills, and that you know, is there? Have you felt any sense of any curiosity? Has there been any? Hey, Graham, I'm a more establishment guy. You seem to be resonating. What do you think is going on? Or do they view you again through the prism of insurgent? This insurgent must be stopped.
As of late, past few months, there's been a lot more reach out from like individual people, kind of in the like senators. Honestly, I think there are a lot of senators now. There are a bunch of senators like Bernie, Elizabeth Warren, Chris Van Hollen, that whole crew. Who Martin Heinrich in New Mexico, who like they reached out early on and have been big supporters really the whole time.
They felt a fellow progressive who they thought, okay, I understand where.
So they pretty much, the leadership of the Democratic Party does not like Plattner, even though he's winning by 40 points. And so the same thing that happened to Zoran Mandani, he was winning by 40 points. And the Democratic leadership didn't endorse him, refused to cooperate with him, refused to say that he was doing a good job until after he won his primary. When he won his primary and they thought that he was a lock-in to the position, they still didn't support him, right? They still didn't support him until the bitter end. Then all of a sudden, everyone is a Zoran Mandani fan, but they never supported him for a long time, right? They didn't give him that support that he needed throughout the process, right? It's like they were hoping that he failed, right? They were hoping that he failed. And so their goal was to make it easier for him to fail. But then when he was successful, then they could claim success, right? They could claim success. That was the goal. Once he was successful, they could claim success. But if he failed, then they could claim that they had nothing to do with it, right? They played this game. This is party leadership playing games.
This fella's coming from.
Totally. So that's been going on since the beginning. Past couple months, though, there has been more reach out from, I would say, more kind of like establishment folks. However, and this is the important part, not from the DSCC, not from the DNC, like nobody in the places of power remains interested.
But they're lost, dude. Like
It's so bad.
They're lost.
And the thing that bothers me the most isn't like I'm not asking for you to like be my friend. But you should be curious because I'm pulling 40 points ahead.
Right.
Like at least just reach out and be like, hey, what are you actually? Because they've never spoken ever. I've never gotten a phone call. Like no one's ever reached out. I've never talked to anybody in leadership. No one's ever been interested in which is like kind of baffling.
I think it's because they only know two stories. The two stories are this: you're either a moderate Democrat or you're a left-wing firebrand. And so what they're saying is, oh, sure, the left-wing firebrand, that does well in the primary, but that'll never travel. You know, there is that idea that, well, electability, and there's something crazy about this, as though you are the equivalent of you're the Democratic equivalent of a MAGA loyalist who has come out with wildly controversial positions. And then you talk to you for 5 minutes, you go, oh no, this is based in historical precedent. It has a very literate and literary foundation to it. It has a foundation of lived experience. Like they should be, again, viewing this as a Rosetta Stone that can help them translate. And here's the trick. How do we translate those experiences to create that new deal for a more modern America where we do get that value, where we do change the incentives of government, the way that money is spent? How do we make that transition?
This is honestly the hardest question to answer. And my answer is going to be insufficient. I'll just tell you that right off the bat. The answer to it is that we need to build political power through getting people like me into the US Senate, into Congress, and we also need to do it while building organizational power outside of the system. There has never been a moment in American history where we've gotten good things just because the institutions or people in power decided to do it. They needed to be pressed.
Right. They need to be pressed. That's the reality. They're not just going to do it just because they want to be friends or they want to be friends with the left. They hate the left. They don't want to see the left succeed. And people say, what do you define as left? What do you define as left? And I never follow him, so I'll follow him. Forgot about Jon Stewart, that he had his own show. Right? He only has 39,000 followers on X. Wow. I thought he would have more. So. Oh, he's more big on YouTube, right? He's covering a lot of the crypto stuff, right? Jon Stewart is covering a lot of the crypto stuff, which people want to know about because it's going to impact the economy. Let's get back to it. The oil prices, right? Let's get back to the oil prices and how that's going to affect us, right? And the UAE, United Arab Emirates, UAE, will be leaving OPEC starting on May 1, ending its membership dating back to 1967. So they're saying it's just math. And JP Morgan warns oil market of out of balance, right? The closure of the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil flows, has removed 13.7 million barrels per day from global supply in April alone. At JP Morgan Research, a JP Morgan research note warns the market has no good way to replace it. Normally, spare production capacity in Saudi Arabia and the UAE acts as the market shock absorber, but that buffer has effectively been removed. This is according to Dropsite News, eliminating the system's first line of defense. With spare capacity unavailable, markets turn to inventories. Global stockpiles are now being drained at 7.1% MBD in April, an extraordinary pace, according to the note. Meanwhile, demand is collapsing because supply simply isn't reaching users. Forced demand destruction. The hardest hit sectors include petrochemical plants across Asia are shutting down or slashing output as LPG, ethane, and naphtha flows from the Gulf collapse. Airline jet fuel costs account for 11% of total demand loss, with Middle East routes largely grounded and margins under pressure. Even after accounting for falling demand and emergency reserve releases, JP Morgan says a gap of 2.3 million barrels per day remains with no clear fix. U.S. shale is the only large, flexible supply source left, but it can't scale fast enough. JPM stresses shale needs 3 to 6 months for meaningful output gains and 6 to 12 months for large increases. That's too slow for the shock happening now. Brent prices diverge in April, with futures averaging about $99.7 per barrel, while physical dated Brent rose to 121.6, signaling tighter real-world supply. The note concludes prices are high, but likely not high enough yet to reflect the shortage. So that means that there's a bubble, and that bubble's going to burst, and eventually there's not enough oil in the world. So eventually it's going to catch up to us. And so once it catches up, the prices are going to shoot up even more than what we expect it to be, right? The price is going to shoot up even more than what we expect the prices to shoot up. So, in other words, at the same time, it's like a perfect storm. At the same time, prices are shooting up. It's the summer season. And this is when oil prices are the most expensive out of all prices, right? This is the time when prices are the most expensive. So the timing of it all is a perfect storm. And this is what they're not telling people, that prices will shoot up for the summer. They always shoot up for the summer. I just filled up the gas tank yesterday, and I spent about $70, right? About $70. It was almost $5 a gallon. This is in New York, right? So this was according to Dropsite News, and it's according to HFI research, and it's based on the JP Morgan Chase So the rest of people, right? However, for the oil companies, they're loving it, right? The oil companies are loving it. They're making a ton of money. So that means the rich are getting richer, the oligarchs, the robber barons are lining their pockets up, they're paying less taxes, and they're making more money off of each barrel of oil, while the American people are suffering, paying more and more for every barrel of oil.
BP profits more than double, beating expectations as Iran war boosts oil prices. Ryan, you pointed this out yesterday. These earning calls can sometimes be fascinating windows into the motivations of the leadership class, the Epstein class, dare I say.
Yeah, and I think today, we're getting like Microsoft, Google, a bunch of others, because like it's all for the first quarter, which ends March 31st, and then they get their paperwork together, and then they do their earnings calls. So that's why you're going to start to see these rollouts. You're going to get a lot of insight into how the first quarter of 2026 went for corporate America. For BP, pretty incredible.
Things are going great.
And as we mentioned, BP had its oil industry nationalized.
BP is the historical origin of this entire conflict.
In the 1950s by Mossadegh in Iran. CIA then overthrew him. I think The Brother is one of Emily's favorite books. Is that right?
It's a banger recommendation from Ryan.
Yeah.
Fantastic author. Read everything.
Read The Brothers.
From Kinzer.
Yeah, read The Brothers if you haven't yet. Kermit Roosevelt and a little ragtag gang of CIA agents and Brits overthrow the democratically elected government, make sure BP gets its oil back, puts in a dictator. That dictator is then overthrown in 1979. That dictator's son now lives in Potomac, Virginia.
Great.
And loves to go on CNN
Potomac,
and play drums in a local dad band.
I did not know that lore.
Yeah.
It doesn't
terrible
change
drummer, from what I'm told.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Does not change anything.
Somebody who jams with him told me he would be a worse leader of a country than he is a drummer, and he's a terrible drummer.
That's a great line. Of course, it's also just, of course, that you've been in touch with somebody who jams with the Shah's son. Like, that's perfect. Okay, let's move on to Jamie Dimon. Another CNBC headline for you right now. Jamie Dimon yesterday warns of, quote, some kind of bond crisis, that's reassuring, ahead as global debt risks build. What he said at an investment conference that was actually held by the Norwegian Sovereign Wealth Fund yesterday. The way it's going now, there will be some kind of bond crisis, and then we'll have to deal with it. I'm not that worried we'll be able to deal with it. I just think maturity should say you deal with it as opposed to let it happen. He also said the level of things that are adding to the risk column are high, like geopolitics. It's kind of a catch-all. Oil, government deficits, they may go away, but they may not. And we don't know what confluence of events causes the problem. That last sentence is chilling. We don't know.
Giant shrug emoji from Jamie Dimon on the economy.
Right. And just to, I wanted to add, actually, so Rod Dreher, who's obviously on the right, has been working on a book about fleshing out his thesis that we're in a Weimar America period. And he, just looking at what happened over the weekend, wrote that he believes we're one major economic crisis away from another potential global conflict on a World War II level scale. And I actually think that's really interesting. I disagree with Rod on some things, but when you hear Jamie Dimon then coming out and being like, well, we don't know what confluence of events causes the problem. We have two hot conflicts right now, actually really three, because you still have to add Gaza, Ukraine, Iran, where the U.S. is in proxy wars, essentially. Not great.
No, not great.
It's a powder keg.
Not great indeed. I've tried every argument in the book, try to persuade people that these billionaires are a mistake and that this concentration of wealth is rotting our society from within. But another one that you can add on the pile is that when you have all of these intense concentrations of wealth,
It's the intense
Well,
concentration.
That's actually more
Wow.
opportunity
Spending money on the military, right?
than for economic meltdowns and economic crisis. Because if you have wealth spread
Yeah, of course.
kind of
Absolutely.
across and you have a broad, strong middle class,
Yep.
then that middle class can kind of support itself.
Yes.
If everybody is dependent on like 15 guys and those 15 guys go to Vegas and bet the house on AI or whatever,
right,
and come and they lose, then we all have lost because we have nothing. We were all just riding on them. So there is pressure.
Well,
Go
just
ahead.
on that
Yeah.
point, I keep trying to hammer this home. There, 20% of the, or I'm sorry, 30% of the S&P 500 is the Mag 7.
Right.
That's terrifying and makes your point, Ryan. And on top of that, you have Amazon, Google investing in Anthropic and those types of big AI companies. So you have circular
Back to
funding.
AI. Back to AI. Everyone's investing in AI, right? So that's all. Let me see. Let's see what was I gonna go in? Which direction was I gonna go? I forgot. Should have wrote it down, right? After a full day of work, you're tired. We know we've been exploited. We know we've been taken advantage of. Right? So Jimmy Kimmel's still on the fire. They want him to be removed off the air. And now they're saying that they're going to review the licenses because of the joke that he made about Melania. Right? Don't joke. No jokes, people. You can't joke. You're not allowed to joke anymore. You make a joke and you're in trouble.
And sober person possibly conclude, except that being a call for Trump, who works as hard as anybody on the planet, appears to be in excellent health, to be suddenly dead. Jimmy Kimmel is not a comedian. You know what he is? He's Hassan Piker with an ABC logo. And ABC, which might as well be called MSABC at this point, just gave him a contract extension. Quote, "Look at Melania. So beautiful. Mrs. Trump, you have the glow like an expectant widow." What else could any reasonable...
And they discussed it, right? They discussed it. They just gave him a contract extension. And he lives in an $8 million house. And how dare him? He's a millionaire and he's making fun of the first lady. I mean, Trump insults people all day, every day. He talks about people's weight. He talks about reporters' ability to walk. He talks about people's all day. And now all of a sudden, somebody talks about it and that's it. Right? It's like I don't want to keep pounding the economy, right? I don't want to keep pounding the economy because people don't want to hear about the economy, especially if they're not doing good. The people that want to hear about the economy are the people that are doing bad, right? Those are the people that want to hear about the economy. But if you're doing bad, you don't want to hear about it. Like, hell no, I don't want to hear about the economy. I'm not doing good at all. Why should I talk about the economy? Right? Do me a favor, hit the like button, hit the share button. And even though there's a ceasefire, it's still costing a lot of money. We're paying for endless wars. And it's ridiculous. Right? It's ridiculous. I don't feel so good about spending so much money on war, to be honest with you. It's not the best feeling to know that the people in our country are happy with whatever's happening, right? What is this guy doing?
Come to the left of, well, not Mondami, but
This
he's
is what happened
pretty
to
far out to the left.
Giuliani.
And both of them, both Charles and
Rudy
Mike,
Giuliani.
had become green
Former
maniacs,
mayor of New York City. Right here.
brainwashed maniacs. So Mike is showing him around and telling him what happened on September 11th, except Mike wasn't there on September 11th. So I guess he's reading from something. But this is, I mean, that would be a perfect match for him, a very left American, Mike Bloomberg.
Right.
A very left, very woke, very green, very, don't have
Bloomberg
soda,
is not left.
don't have
Bloomberg is
chocolate.
not left.
I mean, you could
Come
end
on.
up, being in a
You're
situation
joking,
he's
right?
in like that if you do that.
He's a billionaire.
I don't want to
he's
say
not.
anything really bad, but I mean, the reality is he's a nice
doesn't wanna
man.
get
He's a
sued.
charming man. He's a very erudite man and a very well-educated man. And he is a pure product of the degradation of Europe.
Yeah.
Of the fact that Europe has become an absolutely useless group of woke, frightened, just little. They've gone from being kings and queens on the chessboard to being rooks. They are. England is close, aside for its reputation and its ability with some forms of technology. Other than that, it's a second-rate economy. It's down to 25 ships. I don't know. Maybe they didn't even have a ship to help us with.
Yeah.
And now he says they're going to increase their armed forces, but Germany said the same thing and then they didn't. So I don't know. So I thought the royal visit was a big disappointment. On pomp and circumstances, gosh, it was beautiful. On substance, it was an underscoring of the decline of Western civilization and the fact that we have very, very few allies to help defend it. And the head of the Church of England, who didn't give an Easter message except to us, not to his English people. He gave a Ramadan message. Maybe he's moving churches. I don't know. He did give us a massive custom-made coin to the American people. That's really nice. Not going to get us much in a war, and it's not going to help us save ourselves from the next 9/11. The speech began with an invocation to Congress, which was like a slap in the face to the president, particularly the stupid remark that he has great respect for them, but nobody else does.
Yeah.
And then he went out of his way to call for the defense of Ukraine, but not for the defense of Israel. No mention of the unbelievable anti-Semitism that they have in England and France. And there's a problem they share in common with us. And there's a problem that challenges.
This is the problem. It's conflating
time immemorial values, right?
Supporting
mention
Israel and
that.
supporting the Israeli people, right? He's being
I
a
mean, he's not like a
Zionist.
king. He's like a Democratic politician that's working on a script. They said that the government, that the socialist government went over the speech. His speech. He did not give it on his own.
Yeah.
While Charles didn't address the conflict directly, he predicted the connection between the two nations will outlast current disagreements. Showed no way in which it would. I don't know what we're going to cooperate on. We look at the world very, very differently. They want to let everybody in. They're willing to negotiate with Sharia law. They put people in jail for criticizing.
There you go. Islamophobia.
Particularly if it's right-wing people criticizing left-wing people.
Oh man, Islamophobia.
They've
They
gone
love
completely Europe after Brexit.
That's Rudy Giuliani, former mayor of New York City, giving us advice. Let me see something. So this was Mayor Zohran Mamdani speaking and meeting with the King and Queen of England. Let me show this. That's Zohran Mamdani meeting with the King. So let's see what this guy's saying.
For about a year, up until 2020. That's when they finally stopped carrying out all their obligations for the deal. Joe Biden gets elected, and nobody knows this, but immediately in 2021, Biden tried to resurrect the deal. Biden immediately in the first year in 21 tried to go to the Iranians and put the deal back together, and the Iranians weren't into it. Well, he kept trying. And for a couple of years, it looked like maybe he was going to get it, because in 2023, Beijing brokered a rapprochement between Saudi Arabia and Iran, which is a huge deal. I mean, for you, I mean, you know this, and everybody else maybe knows this too. Saudi Arabia and Iran were in a proxy war for many, many years. China brought an end to that in 23. In August of 23, just a couple months before October 7th, Biden had a prisoner swap with the Iranians. We gave them their Iranian prisoners. We got American prisoners. And then we unfroze that $6 billion that was frozen in South Korea in Iranian funds. It was on its way to Qatar and then to Iran. 2 months later, you get October 7th and spoils all of this. So it was looking like maybe, and maybe this is far-fetched, but certainly Biden was
Israel's
trying to get...
continued to sabotage peace deals.
Well, and that's just it. I mean, Biden was trying to get the Iranian nuclear deal back together. October 7th shut that all down, and then they got Trump elected. And this has just been one rolling campaign ever since October 7th, taking that pretext, using it for a war in Gaza, using it to expand the war into Lebanon, into Yemen, Iraq, Syria, and then ultimately into Iran itself, which they consider to be the head of the snake. And so, yes, it's like they anticipate the progressive left will take over and curb Israeli influence, but also the countdown started when Trump pulled us out, and then they and we had to act.
So you're good at looking at the future. I've asked this a couple times. I want you to look at the crystal ball here. Now Trump, and I got a clip of this, he had Bassett say it over the weekend, and now he's saying it. 4 months. So now we're May, June, July, August. That's just roping us into this. And we got this big blockade. Well, the blockade hurts us as much as it hurts them. And BlackRock's so happy because it derails us and puts us into default. The country was already at the edge of bankruptcy. So that's why up above this 35,000-foot view, but even above Israel, that's why the globalist banks are happy. How do you see this unfolding? Make predictions. Not predictions you're saying 100%, but if you're guessing, where does this go? Because now we're told 4 months. In fact, play the clip. Here's Trump just today, and he's saying, we'll play the clip, but we're on the same timeline as Ukraine now. Well, what's that? It's open-ended. The EU says it's a 20 to 30-year war. They're getting conscription ready. The selective service here is getting conscription ready. I mean, what are they planning? Here's a clip.
Where do you think it is first? That's an interesting question. Coming from you, that's very interesting. Which war would end first? I don't know. Maybe they're on a similar timetable. I think Ukraine, militarily, they're defeated. Okay, you wouldn't know that by reading.
You're the one that made it.
Militarily, look, their Navy. So they had 159 ships. Every ship is right now underwater. Typically, that's pretty good. What do you think, Jared? I mean, it's going to be hard for them to make a naval comeback. Okay, now they have an Air Force. Every one of their planes has been shot down or has been decimated. They have missiles, about 82% are gone, and they have drones, and most of them are gone. Most of the factories are mostly gone, and we have tremendous anti-drone equipment now, between lasers and that new, very special machine gun that knocks them out of the air like flies. And we use bullets instead of $1 million, missiles to knock out a $30,000 drone. So I would say Jared would tell me that with everything you just heard, typically we're in pretty good shape. And in addition, their economy is crashing. Their, as you know, their money, they call it their money. They don't have a name for it.
Well, we got laser beams. We got laser beams, everyone.
Seen before.
We got weapons, unknown weapons.
If you read the
no one has ever
Times,
seen.
You'd say they're doing wonderfully because it's fake news. Or if you watch CNN, I mean, you cover it all the time. You think they're doing well. Do you think they're doing well where they have no Navy, no Air Force, no anti-air?
They're not. Nobody's allowed to
what they may have put there.
answer the question,
they may
right?
have brought in some light stuff during
No one's allowed to answer the question.
ceasefire, and we know exactly where it is, so it'll be knocked out within the first 15 minutes.
So we were told it was a 4-day war, and it wasn't about regime change. Now it is. And okay, we dropped 7.6 million bombs on Vietnam and lost. We've dropped 20,000 on them. Trump's saying we blew their Navy up. Their power was never about Navy. So how does this end? I mean, I guess Trump could pull out now and declare victory. That's a smart move. But the Iranians to rebuild put a toll on the ships. But I don't think Israel's going to let Trump do that. Nick Fuentes.
Yeah, well, I mean, it looks like right now there's a couple of ways it could go. And one way is that we could basically just leave. And this was in the Journal the other day. It said that Trump was exploring the possibility of declaring victory unilaterally and just ending the conflict without a deal. Well, if that happens, then Iran retains control over
the reunion of
and they're not just going to take control over it. They're going to charge money for every ship that goes through. And they're saying that's going to be about $1 per barrel of oil or $2 million per ship. And if we just
Man.
leave right now,
Enemies
let's
of
just
the
imagine
left.
what happens on the next day. Well, one,
They don't like the
Iran
left. They don't like
wins.
people like
this is a
Hassan
loss
Piker.
for the United States. It's a
They don't
strategic
like
defeat completely.
democratic socialism.
We hit them with everything we had.
No, I
and
agree.
they're
But
up.
if Trump doubles down, that's a bigger failure. So the point is, it's a Pyrrhic victory already. Joe Kent's right. Get out now.
Well, I'm just talking about the logic here from the point of view of the military planners. And not only that, not only does Iran get this trade, but then they get to charge money, and they're going to use that money to then rebuild their arsenal. And so they say they're already excavating their missile production facilities. They're going to restart that. That's a lot of money coming in, and that will deter any future U.S. action, because if we try to take another swing at it, this year, next year, down the road, well, Iran will more easily be able to close the strait. They will have built more missiles, more drones. They know what works, what doesn't. They have taken some of our unexploded ordnance, like our bunker buster bombs, and are reverse engineering them. So the point I'm trying to make is that from the point of view of the U.S. and Israel, if we withdraw right now, all that does is start another countdown timer, just like last year. When we went to war with Iran last year, what did that do? It accelerated Iran's timeline to either enrich more uranium, build 300 more missiles per month. And the Israelis started getting anxious, saying every month we wait, Iran is building another 300 missiles that are going to rain down on Tel Aviv.
And that's why, regardless, it's a lose-lose situation.
It is, because the alternative is we just go back in right now. And this is why the only, Joe Kent said, and he's right about this, he said, we have to withdraw and then restrain Israel. That's the operative part of that, because you can withdraw, they'll drag us back. You can withdraw, you'll get another meeting with Netanyahu and Mar-a-Lago, like on New Year's, like in December. What you have to do is regime change in Israel. Their elections are coming up.
So what does Netanyahu say to Trump that has him by the short hairs?
I'm sure that the influence over Trump is very sophisticated. They've penetrated his administration. They've penetrated Central Command, which is where this war is being run out of in the Pentagon. It's one of the most Israeli infiltrated entities in the U.S. government. They penetrated the National Security Council. They have Mike Waltz as the UN ambassador from the NSC. So, who knows? I don't think that he's saying any magic words necessarily, or who knows, maybe he is. But I think that they've basically created a matrix surrounding Trump. And this is what all the anonymous sources say. They have convinced Trump that this would be easy. Maybe they did Venezuela to whet his appetite. They said, oh, Iran's going to be easy like that. You're going to be this historical
he said
president.
last week, he said, look at Venezuela. This will be the same. He told Tucker a month ago, but last time they talked, he said, it always works out for me. It's like a gambler. It's like just delusional.
It is. And I'm sure that's part of it. I'm sure they told them, look, this is how it's going to go. You're going to hit Iran. The government's going to collapse. And leaders are prone to this. That's what Putin thought about Ukraine. They cut a line straight to Kiev. They bombed the airport because they thought the government would just fall and they wouldn't fight back. And that would be that.
Yeah, they
Trump
didn't know
made
it was a NATO setup. I knew that.
Yeah,
I told Putin. I told him on air. I said, you're walking into a NATO trap.
And we walked into a trap here. I mean, literally the exact same mistake. Trump thought that we were going to go in, they would collapse. They didn't. Now it's a war of attrition. They've taken the strait as the military
And
knew
these
they
are the
would.
experts?
Trump said it was his gut that they...
These are the experts, right? Nick Fuentes, Alex Jones.
They vindicate even more than me because I was behind the curve, but I'm super vindicated. We're like batting 1,000 and we're the bad guys. Like all I do is somebody's right, I listen to them. Like we're totally right, informed. You know all the issues, and then these idiot neocon people attack us. Every time Trump says he's won, every time he says, you know, they oh look, see you're idiots, and it falls apart in hours.
Yeah, that's how it be.
Let's come back and talk about the nonsense of this. Then I want to hit the mid.
So this is Alex Jones interviewing Nick Fuentes, both always speaking bad about the left, about anyone that fights for workers' rights. They give piecemeal to regular workers, right? And a lot of people are saying they're just clout chasing they just criticizing Trump because they see that the Trump train, that Trump's popularity is so low, so they just abandon the Trump ship, and they're just chasing wherever it's going to make them more money, and they're not loyal to anyone other than themselves, right? Their loyalty belongs to themselves. They're not loyal to anyone other than themselves, right? Everyone hit the like button, hit the share button. I appreciate your support. My name is Celso Garcia, and I'm live on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, Substack, and TikTok. Hit the like button. I appreciate you all for hitting the like button and sharing and writing as many comments as possible. And that's what I'm going to segue into now, is that Trump's popularity rating keeps dipping lower and lower every time we hear a poll, right? And it's related to the oil prices. Once people see the gas being so high, food being so high, not having money in their account, falling behind in debt, not knowing where they're going to get money from, people get frustrated and they get upset. So as much as they want to defend Trump, a lot of people feel lied to. A lot of people feel frustrated. They gave him his time to improve things, and he has chosen to just complain about not having a ballroom, and all this other stuff, right? That's all they complain about, is that they need a ballroom to protect the president and protect anyone around. But somebody wrote an interesting analysis. That means you should build a ballroom in every school in the United States, because there's more unalivings than anywhere else, right? There's more unalivings in schools, and in, there's no bipartisan appetite for making sure that every classroom in the United States is safe, right? That everyone's children are safe. But they go hard on saving the ballroom, right? Right? So let's hear what they got to say, right?
Well, in the history of InfoWars. And it just so happens Bigley lined us up for this week with all these products that just came in a month ago. And so it's fitting that at the closing of the original InfoWars, we're doing this blowout.
So they're the real patriots. They claim they're the real patriots. Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones claim they're the ones that care for the country, not anyone else.
That are right over and over and over again. That's my North Star. And so, Nick, I sit here in horror. Okay, you get millions of listeners today, so do I. And I'm not bragging here, but it's like, do people realize, like, we know what we're talking about? The Pentagon tells Trump to do this war. He does it. We've been right about it all. So we get demonized, even though it's leading us towards destruction. It's just extremely frustrating to just tell the truth and then be demonized by a bunch of idiots that lie to themselves. I guess what I'm asking you is, how surreal is it, since you've been doing media since you're 16, and now you're at the very center of this, and I know you want America to succeed, so do I, when we try to get it off its destructive course, we're traitors. And it's like a sick part of me says, fine. People that all want to be slaves and destroyed, we'll show you, but then we're going to get taken down with them. So it's very paradoxical. We can't give up. How optimistic you're, just big picture, like futurist Nick Fuentes. What are the different angles, the midterms, Trump? You've got the floor here. Where do you see this going? And what can the public do to try to take back control of our destiny? Well, what are solutions?
Well, you're right. It's very frustrating. And, that's probably the most frustrating part is on some level, people are working against their own interests. People are being deceived and they're being made to work against what is really in their best interest, what's good for them.
You push Trump,
which is to say that we're in a war with Iran.
problem.
We're not getting the deportations. We're not getting the Epstein files. Like the list goes on and on. I said it on my show the other night. It's like, what was all of this for? 10 years, all this struggle, the fight, and it's for weed legalization, a White House ballroom, a war with Iran, and a corporate tax cut. It's not very good. And yet people are being convinced to defend this. Here's the solution, and here's maybe a way to reframe it a little bit. I said on my show on Monday, there's sort of a black-pilled way to think about this, and there's a clear-pilled way to think, or a white-pilled way to think about it. And the black pill is to sort of throw our hands up and say, this is so frustrating. Everybody is brainwashed. Everybody's being tricked and misled, really by calculated deception. This influence campaign by the influencers who are being paid, that's manufactured. That's calculated. It's intentional. And we could sort of throw our hands up and say, it's so frustrating that they seem to be winning the propaganda war. People are being misled. People are being tricked. We're on the money. We know what we're talking about. Why won't they listen? And it's very sad that people are not free thinkers, or it's sad that people don't find the real information, or they're not receptive to it, or they get confused. I would say the other way to look at it, though, is to realize that we're playing the same game as the pro-Trump influencers. We're just playing it differently. Maybe we're playing the game all wrong. And maybe we need to start thinking more like them. We could sort of lament the fact that people don't think and people are followers and all these problems that we have. Or we could kind of think, how do we build a better mousetrap and say, how can we actually create propaganda? How can we create a patronage network? How can we create a systematic movement? How can we create a system that makes people think our way? And I think that I'm white-pilled if young people are paying attention to how all of this works. People really need to be students of power, how power works, the relationship between media and money and power. And so to me, what's exciting about, the Groypers, about InfoWars, is we have the young people. It's young people that watch us, and particularly the young.
But you push Trump. Do you understand? You push Trump. You pushed him on everyone. You convinced people that he was the best thing since sliced bread. And now you want to say, oh, listen to us. We're the experts, right? We're the experts. Listen to us. We know what we talk about. We'll lead you in the right direction. You be sheep, and we'll be the sheep herders. And we should listen to you and your opinion, even though you gave us Trump and you talk about white supremacist values and because he's betraying them, and you want him to go harder than what he's doing or where he's going. That's what you want. You want him to go harder against people and harder against anyone that's not white. That's crazy.
Men, they're the ones that are going to make the change. The young geniuses. If we have the young geniuses and visionaries, everything flows from them. It does not flow from the boomers. It doesn't flow, honestly, from any women. It doesn't flow from low IQ people.
Wow.
It's the brightest. It's the most eclectic,
And
the
that's
most
why
dynamic.
And see how he has to be. See, that's why they sound like they're reasonable until they say something against women, something against Islamic people, something against minorities. They start to say these things that they slip out, right? They can't help themselves but to say negative stuff about anyone that is in a marginalized group.
Corrupt power structure targets the young men, just like a lion will kill the baby lions or a grizzly bear will kill the baby males. Absolutely. If we didn't have the power, they wouldn't be trying to destroy us.
Right. That's the most important demographic, though they are the future. And it's not just all of the young people. It's in particular the cognitive elite, the smartest young men in universities or trying to break into tech or finance or
And
politics.
by the way, that's
or
what the
something
United
like
States
that.
says they're worried about. We don't care about terrorists. We want to know about interesting people.
Right. And truly, that has always been the game of the intelligence community, is to look for those people and try to recruit them and get them on side and bring them into the fold. We have them instead. I'm white-pilled about that, but the young men need to become students of power. They need to get a little bit more sophisticated. And I think that, what is the political solution out of this? People talk
You
about
won't
political
be-
solution. Usually they mean voting. And I think that, voting is not really going to help a ton. I think
You're not gonna get intelligent from these guys. You know what I mean? They just have a lot of viewers. All they have is a lot of viewers, right? They're not, doesn't mean that they're smart politically. And
the
my
best
proof
bet
is
for
they
us-
gave us Donald Trump. These are the people that gave us Donald Trump. Now they're anti-Trumpers, never Trumpers, whatever you want to call them, because Trump is not going hard enough, right? They want him to go more ultra fascist, more white supremacist. And according to them, he's not going hard enough against minorities, against immigrants, against transgender people, against LGBTQ plus people. Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones think that Trump is not going hard enough. That's why they
the future
upset with
is
him.
26. Democrats win by a lot. And the only reason I want to see that is because the Democrats in the House will have oversight powers and they can slow down this administration. The administration is doing
So you
harm
want to use the
now. It's-
Democrats as a check?
Yes, exactly. I don't support Democrats in and of themselves, but the Trump administration is bad. Like, it's hurting
So
us.
you want
It's
to
a
kill the
liability.
arrogance?
Yes.
Well, that's why I called
wanna-
for 25th Amendment Trump, knowing he attacked me. I love it. I was trying to get him, just without having to do that, get him to stop, but he's not stopping.
And he won't. He won't. Why would he? I mean, it's total exuberance in the White House. He's a megalomaniac. It's total. You know this. You told me about it. You've said it on your show too. He's totally unhinged. He's out to lunch. And so it's like the only thing that will.
I told you a year
oppose-
ago, but I said don't say it yet. But he is megalomaniac now.
Yeah, and and
You knew that
it's clear. I mean,
before.
it's obvious.
You didn't know? Are you guys the only ones that didn't know he was a
Nick.
megalomaniac?
Oh, Nick's back. Nick,
There we
you
go.
said it's
Okay.
totally obvious. Go ahead.
Yeah, I said it's totally obvious, comparing himself to Jesus Christ, his comments on Easter, all these things. Like, it's very clear that he's got some problems here. And so in any case, I think that the only way that we can exert any kind of pressure on him is really from the Democrats. Get them in there to oppose the administration. And then in 2028, this is the real play. We need to find and get behind an America First Republican to win in the primary. Because I think that the last thing that we need is a coronation of J.D. Vance. I know you feel differently than I do about
No, let's
him.
talk about that. I mean, I get what you're saying. If we lose the midterms, we have a shot at winning the general election. That's just basic political science. But they're going to go for stacking the Supreme Court, cramming it, ending the filibusters. That's why I'm so concerned. But I get your logic that it's how it works. The party in power then loses power. So if they win the House and Senate, then we win the next guy. But you're right. Look, I don't think J.D. Vance is a bad guy. I don't think he's like a Manchurian candidate, but I get your points, serious concerns, whatever. Fine. Then who would be, we'll talk about the larger issue of this process of in it, power, out of power, and then who would be the American first person? Who would be our dark horse? Who would be our savior?
Well, like I said, I think that it just can't be a coronation, because the way it is right now, and this is something that people are not really hip to, is that for the past couple of years, the whole GOP establishment is just lining up behind J.D. Vance. And Rubio, who is now being considered an alternative by like the pro-Israel crowd, even he has said if Vance runs, he won't oppose. And Rubio, who knows if that's true? That might just be politics. But like,
Well, by the way, I
that
told
it
this story like 6 months before the election. I'm up at TPUSA in Michigan. And they go, hey,
so
hey,
they-
to me. I never met him.
And their biggest complaint is that Trump is not going white supremacist enough. He's not going sticking to America first and pretty much attacking the left enough. So you would think that they sound reasonable, right? You would think that they sound like reasonable people, but obviously they're not reasonable. This is the deception that people fall for in politics. That people sound reasonable, they sound like they're on your side, but in the end of the day, they're not on your side. They don't really care if you eat or if you are able to survive. All they worry about is their own personal survival, right? Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes have got into serious legal problems, and so they need to recover all that money that they lost, right? So now they have each other's backs, and they support each other. But this is not the direction we need to go to, right? We don't need to go in a white supremacist, white nationalist, Christian nationalist environment. That's why they feel betrayed by Trump, because Trump is not being a white nationalist enough. He's not being a white supremacist enough. That's the only reason why they are offended with him. And the economy that those people that could vote for and keep believing are abandoning Trump. So now they're abandoning Trump also. But it's not that they want to abandon him. It's just that they feel that that's the only option they have in order to save their careers beyond Trump, right? Beyond Trump. If Trump loses the midterms, then they could still continue to be successful, right? They just think about viability and their own careers and making as much money as possible so they can keep going and making as much money as they can, right? So these guys are dangerous because they're smooth talkers. They will convince you into thinking that they care about America, that they care about you, right? That they care about the American people, but they're just opportunists. Just like Donald Trump is an opportunist. He gave them what they wanted to hear. They got him in there. And then as soon as he's in there, he does whatever he wants, right? He does whatever he wants after that, right? He does whatever he wants after that. And that's it, right? And that's it. That's all he does. That's his specialty. This is their specialty. Their specialty is being able to use people and take advantage of people. So everyone, hit the like button, hit the share button. Go to my profile. You can support the channel if you go to my GoFundMe page and support the channel. And I really do appreciate every single one of you for your continued contribution and your continued help to the program to make this program as popular as it can be. I appreciate you all. I'm about to hit the 2-hour mark, which is okay because we're covering some knuckleheads, right? That sound like they know what they're talking about. They claim they know what they're talking about, but they don't really know what they're talking about.
He, when he was even a candidate, he defended my free speech and all. He was a nice guy. So I got whisked in there and I talked to him, and he goes, I go, well, I hear you're in, I hear your consideration. He goes, no, I haven't. I'm the vice president. And I shook his hand and talked to him about, you got to go after the deep state. Here's the problems. And he goes, yeah, we're on that. And I talked about Smith-Muntak with him. And then Chase Geiser comes and was like taping it. So he messed. I'm not mad at Chase, but Chase has a camera and they're like, oh, whoa. You know, and I said, delete that right now. But the point was, is that he was just like, no, I haven't. Months and months before. He's like, before the nomination, I haven't. So what is that? How did he was just like, I haven't.
Yeah, I mean, there's something going on there. And he and his wife feel the same way about the nomination. The wife, Usha Vance, allegedly, she's already thinking she's the first lady. She's already thinking she is the married to the president. They don't think they just have the nominee. They think they have the next presidency, or at least
Why
maybe
do you think
did
they grabbed
before.
him at the shooting Saturday night for Trump?
Well, you know, they say that that's standard protocol, but who knows? I mean, maybe they were protecting the real VIP. Maybe they're, you know, who knows? Maybe there's
So
something
it's
going on
standard
there.
protocol to grab the vice president?
I'm saying that's what they said. I'm saying that was their defense. But like you said, I mean, I don't think that sounds, that doesn't sound right to me. Because you're right. Trump was still eating.
Well,
his
you've been a
dinner
big
when
critic
they-
of Vance, and you predicted this Iran fiasco. Why are you a critic of Vance? Talk about it.
Well, Vance is very close with Peter Thiel, who I don't trust, you know, and I know Tucker's a good friend of Peter Thiel, and I know you feel differently about Palantir and all that, but I don't trust Peter Thiel at all. I'm Catholic. Peter Thiel just was on a recording saying that the Pope is the Antichrist and all this kind of stuff. And anyway, it's besides the point. Vance is a creation of Peter Thiel. He's a creation of Little Tech every step of the way. Recruited at Yale, sent out to Silicon Valley, worked his fake career, no-show job in venture capital. Then he got the $15 million from Peter Thiel with the Trump endorsement to go into the Senate. And so it's like, in other words, this is a guy that kind of owes everybody a lot. He owes all these people basically his entire career, and he's going to be the president. We don't even know who he is. I mean, 10 years ago, he was a never Trumper. He voted for Evan McMullin, the CIA agent picked by Bill Kristol to be a spoiler in Utah. He loves Barack Obama. On Inauguration Day in 2017, he said, like, Trump supporters hate Obama because he's too smart, he's too cerebral, and they hate that a black guy is more intelligent than them. Like, this is who the guy's a chameleon. I don't.
And this is where he goes bonkers, right? With these videos. He goes bonkers and he goes off the chart. And that's when you see the reality that he's a neo-Nazi, anti-Semite neo-Nazi that only cares about popularity, doesn't really care about anything you have to say. He just cares about, spreading an ideology, and both of them spreading an ideology that's against Latinos, against blacks, against minorities, and definitely against any one of us. So I wouldn't support these people, Nick Fuentes or Nick Jones. Sorry, Alex Jones. Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones. They're too all over the place for me. But I appreciate you for joining me, everyone, on all the channels. I really do appreciate you all. Hit the like button, hit the share button, subscribe to the channel. Let's keep growing this channel. And I just put Rudy Giuliani, I put Alex Jones, I put Nick Fuentes. These were all darlings of the right that supported Trump so badly. And now they turned their back on him because they're saying that he's not white supremacist enough. He's not a white nationalist enough. Not because he's too soft. That's the only reason why they turned their back on him. And it's advantageous for them to make more money by having him on their platform or not supporting him when his popularity is low, right? It'll be bad. They could lose people. The people and supporters and donors and advertisers. So now you know the truth. Everyone, thank you for joining me. I'm Celso Garcia once again. You can hit the follow button, share, and like, and go to my profile and contribute to the GoFundMe page in my profile on all the channels. Thank you so much for joining me. Have a good day. Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Take care of yourself. I'll be back on tomorrow. Thanks to you, the people. By the people, for the people. Right? Like the Constitution says. We the people. Right? We the people, united. All right? Thank you, everyone. Have a good day and have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow. The last video got 500 viewers already. Almost 500 viewers.